What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about the top 5 short squeeze stocks that you need to add to your watch list going into this upcoming week. So I'm going to go over all the things you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with stock number 5, not in any particular order as per usual, ticker is SERV, so SERV Robotics, sitting at 1342. Over the last 1 year, it is up 40.82%, and then over the last 5 days, up 34.57%. So a lot of stocks that I do select, I like to have them kind of move higher, good pre-existing momentum, and in many cases, shorts just being very overextended. So a couple additional things, if you are curious on what they do, this is it. So industry is restaurants, employees 121, founded in 2017, based out of the States. Right now, 24.07% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 14.9 million shares overall being shorted. DTC, so there's a lot of good information up top here, so feel free to kind of pause it, but DTC is a big one to pay attention to. 1.42 days, so that does signal that shorts are fairly overextended. That does factor in the average volume in comparison to number of shares being shorted. Short score 69.25, higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. And from what you can see from this teal line, shorts have been fairly active lately. One thing to take notice though, there's about 400,000 shares available to be shorted. So in some cases, if stocks have limited supply, you could be seeing some buying from big institutions just for the mere purposes of lending out stock. Cost to borrow though is fairly low, so you might not be seeing some institutions buy just for the purposes of lending out just in this stock. But this is stock number 5. Moving on to the next one. It's somewhat of an unpopular one, but ticker is ZIM, sitting at $20 and change. Over the last 1 year, it is down 2.86%, but over the last 5 days, flat, and then up 35% over the last 1 month. So with potentially rate cuts coming down the pipeline this upcoming week, this is where you could see stocks such as this really move higher. And for those of you that have joined my Patreon or my Stacked account, I actually did signal this as a buy at $13. So I put out some absolute bangers, and there's actually another one of the stocks I have a buy signal on. I am going to be talking about that one too. But nonetheless, if you're curious on what this company does, this is it right over here. So it is transportation, roughly around 4,800 employees, founded in 1945. It does have a dividend, mind you, as well. So it shows 6.19%. So pretty good stuff. That's icing on the cake. But 18.74% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 22.3 million shares overall being shorted. DTC 4.81 days, so that does signal that shorts are very overextended with this stock, and short score 77.12. Through IBKR does indicate roughly around 2.3 million shares, so most likely you won't be seeing any buying from big institutions going into this upcoming week. Moving on to the next stock, ticker is IRBT, so iRobot Corporation, sitting at 369. Friday alone, it went up 21.7%. Over the last 1 year, though, it is down 57.04%. And then over the last 5 days, it is up 116%. So as I mentioned, a lot of good pre-existing momentum. There's a lot of good stuff right here as far as information, such as market cap, volume. If you care about quantitative data, this is it based on Seeking Alpha. So it does show the valuation as a A-. So this stock, even though it's ran up quite a lot, in the short term is still considered a good value, but I don't really talk about that. We care about shorts, right? And it being a squeeze play. This is some of the information right here of what they do. So household appliances, 541 employees based out of the States. Right now, 47.4% of the free float is being shorted. So this is all-time high short interest numbers for this stock. 14.91 million shares overall being shorted. Shorts alone on Friday did increase 855,000 shares. Cost to borrow average is 288.03%. That is a annual rate, not a daily rate. Short score 83.07, so very high for that. And then through IBKR, there's roughly around 25 100,000 shares available. And so potentially you'll be seeing some buying just for the purposes of lending it out, because through IBKR, for instance, is at 122.08%. So this is why it went from roughly about 2,000 to 15,000 to 20,000 to 30 down to 25, is because that's always changing all the time. So again, definitely add this one to your watch list. Moving on to the next one, ticker is PATH, sitting at 1867. Over the last 1 year, it is up 24.88%. Over the last 5 days, up 36.2%. This is the second stock as well I have indicated as a solid swing trade. I was saying that I think it was about between $12 to $13 was a epic buy, and definitely made some pretty good bank. So anyone who has joined and paid attention to a lot of the signals on my Patreon as well as Stacked account has really made some good money. And what I was going to do is just for this weekend, as more of a promotion, I'm actually going to be lowering it. So the buy alerts, which gives you day trades and also swing trades, normally $54.99, I'm going to be dropping it down to $20. So feel free, sign up while you can over this weekend. It's going to be max 150 people, so there's about 103 in there right now. So promotion just for this weekend. So you seeing this definitely is going to pay off. So I'm only going to be doing it on a select few videos announcing that. But going back over here, ticker PATH, 10.3% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 43.16 million shares overall are being shorted. DTC sitting at 1.81 days, and cost to borrow is kind of on the low end, but through IBKR does indicate more than 10 million shares is available. So you definitely won't be seeing any buying with this, but as I already mentioned, with rate cuts and a lot of key data coming down the pipeline, this stock could have some very good continued momentum and potentially have a nice squeeze. Even though only 10% of the free float is being shorted, still you could see a nice squeeze kind of as a result of all that. And then moving on to my last stock, ticker is CAPR. So sitting at 26.89. On Friday, went up 5.87%. Over the last 1 year, up 85%. And then over the last 5 days alone, up a very impressive 383%. A lot of good information here, so it looks like it meets the criteria for seeking alpha analysts, for Wall Street analysts, and quantitative data. This is what they do on a side note if you are curious. So biotech, 160 employees, 2005 was when it was founded, based out of good old San Diego. Right now, 21.2% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 8.5 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average, 24.15%. Again, that's an annual rate, not a daily rate. DTC sitting at 3.7 days. Short score, 86.16 or 18. And generally, shorts have actually returned over the last several trading days since November the 21st. It went from about, looks like 36% short interest to where it is now. So shorts have actually returned a significant amount, but given the momentum behind the scenes, definitely there's more on the table for them to kind of still return. And right now there's about 900,000 shares available to be shorted. So definitely could be seeing some big money buying going into this upcoming week. So make sure you add all these stocks to your watch list. Take advantage of that promotion only up until Sunday evening. Roughly, I'll put it around midnight or something like that. So I'll change it back. Sign up while you can. With all that said, appreciate all of you guys watching and have a epic weekend.